Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the D-Hop Talking Shop podcast, man. So on today's show, she's an influencer. She does work in the sports media, luxury. She does it all, man. So you guys finna learn about her today. So ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce you guys to Eleasha Deering. Appreciate you for taking the time to come on my podcast.
It's my pleasure. My pleasure to be here.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, for sure. So I want to go ahead and get started and ask you. So before we get started in your journey in your career, like where are you born and raised at?
So I was born in Queens, New York, but I was conceived and raised in Mississippi.
Okay. Queens, New York. New York is an interesting place.
Yes. This is actually where I would say the majority of my family. So a lot of people say, you're a New Yorker, but I'm not. My dad went to New York to visit his older brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
He met my mother at a bus stop. Mm-hmm. And so my mother went back to have me there.
Yeah.
And so that's why I was born there. But I was raised in Mississippi my whole life. So I'm a true Southern Belle.
Okay. New York is different, man. I would like to say I went there a couple years ago, and man, it's a lot of rude people down there. It's a lot different.
Yes. Look, honking the horns. Have you ever tried to drive there?
Nah.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
No, I didn't. I stayed on Times Square the whole time, literally just walked everywhere. I didn't want to, because like people told me you're not going to want to, drive around in New York. I remember when I got to the airport and I got off the plane and I saw how far my hotel was. It was probably like 5 minutes away, and it told me it was going to take me like 50 minutes to get there. I said, what? I said, so that's that New York. I don't feel like I live there. I don't feel like I can. No offense to you, there, but it's a lot different. I like the South better.
Yes.
I remember when I was leaving New York, I was in a taxi cab, my little Uber driver or whatever. That was like, oh, I'm so happy to see some Southerners because I went down there with my peoples because they said the same thing. So, yeah. So, what do you like to do outside of work?
Well, outside of work, number one is family.
Okay.
So number one is family. Two would be anything with the arts.
Okay.
So under that would be music. So I listen to music all the time. My dad was a DJ on the side. So I always listen to music. So whenever I have the opportunity, I love going downtown, Deep Ellum, live music. It's therapeutic. And I just love great experiences. So whether that's food, great food, anything. And I want to say like a great experience, it doesn't even have to cost a lot of money. It doesn't have to cost any money.
Yeah.
So I like to say I'm the queen of spades. So you give me a good spade game, some food.
Yeah.
That's a great experience. So, those are some of the things I like to do.
What kind of music are you into? Like,
I listen to everything. Larry June. I love Louis Armstrong. So I'm very diverse. Mac Miller. So I listen to everything.
Okay. You don't like no Future?
I do. I like Future. I do like Future. Yeah. I love like mashup. So like there's this mashup with Future and Nina Simone. So I love a lot of like mashup. And of course from Mississippi, a lot of things like with bass. Yeah. So, but yeah, of course, yeah, I love Future. I literally listen to everything. Yeah. So
have you ever been to like a concert before? Like just kick it.
It's been the last concert that I went to was the beginning of this year. I went to Travis Scott concert and and he is like a ball of energy. So he was everywhere. He was up in cages. So yeah. Travis Scott this year. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I remember my first ever concert was Moneybagg Yo. He was in Irving, up the street at Toyota Music Factory from where I live. Yeah, that was my first time. I used to always be like, why do people pay to go to a concert? I always felt like it was a waste of money seeing somebody perform that you done already listened to a few times. But when I actually went, it was a good experience. So, yeah.
You enjoyed it?
Oh, yeah, I'll definitely do it again. So let's go ahead and get started. So how did you get started in your career?
So I got started. So I initially started as far as the social media marketing. I started that with my ministry. Okay. I started with the content creation management. I was over the whole team. So I've been doing that like 10 years plus. And then about 3 or 4 years after that, I started with social media, building that from the ground up.
Yeah.
And someone, that I knew said, like, hey, won't you do vlogging? And I was like, okay, if I'm going to leave my corporate job and do this, let me find a way to monetize it. And so I started researching, find mentors. I got in different business groups that were in my space. And then I started. And that's how I began. And I love telling stories. And I've always been into photography and videography.
Yeah.
And so that was the beginning of it.
Okay. So how long have you been doing it for?
So social media, that's been 10 years plus. I've been an influencer for over 6 years.
Okay. Yeah. So what do you say you like the most about your job, and what you say you dislike about it?
So the most I like about it, and let me say, I've been working with athletes for going on close to 3 years now.
Yeah.
So what I like the most about it is helping brands and athletes build their brands.
Yeah.
And for me to see, especially brands that nobody knew about that are now in stores. I always tell people, I remember when no one knew Liquid IV. I work with Liquid IV. To see these brands get built and help bring exposure to help people get the word out. So that's what I love to do. I love to tell stories. I'm a big creative, so I love telling stories. So that's big for me. So I see what it looks like when people don't have a brand, and no matter what we do, we are a brand, and we're a walking billboard, whether we say anything or not. So people know I'm very passionate about social media. So
Okay. I like that.
The least thing for me is the hours. But I was in the military. So the military trained me for long hours. We used to do 24-hour duty. So I'm used to it, but sometimes I'm just like, ugh. So,
I almost went to the military. How long was you in the military for? Did you like it?
I was in almost 5 years. I did.
Yeah.
I did enjoy it. And I tell people I met some great people that I'm still friends with. I still have a lot of people I'm close to that they're still in. We were sergeants, privates. Now they're sergeant majors. They're still in. So I wouldn't take it back.
Now they probably see you like, oh, now she's big time now. She ain't coming back this way.
A lot of people can't believe it. I actually was like shy, but a lot of people can't believe I'm an influencer like in front of cameras. So.
Definitely. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like since I can reflect to that. Going back to that, people see me doing this podcast. A lot of people like, dang, D-Hop, I didn't know you could talk like that all the time. Like they always be amazed when they see this. So, cause they. I mean, I was like, well, I mean, I've been talking sports everything since I was a kid, but it's just my first time, just talking on camera.
Yep.
So going back, so you said you worked with athletes. So like, what kind of athletes have you worked with in the past?
So I mainly worked with professional football players. So now I've worked with, of course, NFL. I've worked with collegiate athletes. I've worked with professional basketball players.
Yeah.
And I've had the opportunity, with at least one BMX athlete. So it's definitely been a blessing, this path that God has taken me on.
Definitely.
And so I'm excited to see what other athletes. And my goal is to work with athletes as young as possible to help them build their brands. I was talking to an athlete that's one of the top athletes in the FCC. And I was like, hey, did somebody talk to you about building your brand? He was like, no. And I'm just like, wow. Mm-hmm. So I want to, help them as early as possible. So now I'm looking at, high school. So of course, especially with the NIL deal, they need help. So
is there any like professional athletes that you would want to work with that you haven't worked with yet?
I don't, and let me say this: the reason being is because it's how I'm wired. Yeah, and when I see athletes, the ones that I know and I haven't worked with, I just see the person. I respect the talent and the skill. Yeah, and so if I get to work with some top tier, even the ones that people don't deem as top tier it's a blessing.
Yeah.
Because I just want to know their story. I love origin stories. So I just want to know about the person. So.
Okay. Yeah. So, like that. So that's exactly like how my connection is. Learning about these athletes and building a connection with them and things like that I want to learn. Yes, for sure. So do you travel a lot with your job?
Yeah. So I travel quite frequently for brand deals, events, of course, partnerships and meetings. So I have to travel a lot.
Yeah. Okay. Is there anywhere that you haven't been yet that you would like to go? Like it's state-wise, or it could be out the country too?
Well, nowhere that I can think of. There's some places that I want to revisit that I've been, which is Alaska.
Yeah.
I want to go back, do some shoots there. Washington, which is Washington State.
Yeah.
Places like that. I mean, I've been to New York a bunch of times.
Yeah.
So there's just some destination places that I want to go back and intentionally get content. We talked about Miami. I've gotten some there, but I want to be more strategic about it. So, and I've been to Canada. I wouldn't mind going back to Canada, to do partnerships or get content actually there.
Okay. So going back to your partnership, that brings me to my next question. So how was that feeling when you got your first ever partnership? And do they what is it like they reached out to you, or where was you at when you first found out you was getting offered your first partnership?
So typically I receive emails.
Yeah.
They email me. And it was surreal. And my first big one is History Channel. And because I grew up watching History Channel, and I remember getting teary-eyed. And what made it even more for me, so with paid influencers, they're called campaigns. With this particular campaign, it was with Lawrence Fishburne.
Yeah. And
so I was like, okay, History Channel and this series is for Lawrence Fishburne. Yeah. I was just like, okay, this is big. This is big. And so I was really happy. I was really happy. And to get paid to do a campaign with History Channel and one with Lawrence Fishburne, I was thanking God. And so I was just like, man, I'm, seeing the results. And so I was really, really happy about that.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Oh, yeah, congratulations on that. Ready to see where you're finna go in the near future. So moving on to my next question. So what advice can you give other people who want to be in your shoes?
My advice would be stay true to yourself and the vision that God has given you. Don't deter from what's inside of you. Don't let nobody talk you down from what God has placed inside of you. Stay true to who you are and work on your craft. Perfect your craft. There's going to be long hours. So I have people all the time ask me how do you do what you do? And, how do I become this? How do I do that?
Yeah.
There's a process. A lot of people always see, they see what they see on social media, but they don't see the work.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So perfect your craft continuously. Continuously perfect your craft.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's what I tell fans about football. We see that work, the work that you guys put in, behind closed doors, and that's what I was just telling Tony Hills. We see them on TV, but we know they putting in work behind the scenes, so I understand how they go. So, last question I got to you before I close this podcast out. What do you want to achieve? What's your long-term goals you want in your career?
So, my long-term goal is to continue to allow God to lead and guide me to help brands and athletes build, and maintain their brands, to continue to grow my brand statewide, nationally, globally, and as far as an influencer, to continue to work with even more major brands. I always speak and manifest that I'm the top at my field. Yeah. And that's my mindset, that everyone knows me wherever I go. So I strive for excellence. Okay. And so I believe that we all should speak being overachievers. Yeah. So that's my long-term goal, to be at the top at what I do.
Okay.
So.
Oh yeah, I'm glad I was able to get the interview in before you get too big to mess with me.
Look, I'm on the Today Show. Yes.
Well, like I said, appreciate you for taking the time to come on my show. Really means a lot.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Hopefully, you guys get to see her again if she have time for me. I know she's a hard-working lady. She'd be busy. Yeah, but if you guys like today's video with Miss Eleasha Deering, make sure you guys subscribe to the Hot Talk Show podcast.
Okay. See, they bent over. This is what I'm gonna do. So that means IGWT means in God we trust.
Okay.
So a lot of people ask me like, what does